Who are you? It sounds like a simple question, but when you really try to answer it, it gets complicated fast. Are you your job? Your relationships? Your thoughts? Your achievements? The role you play in your family? Most of us go through life without really asking this question. We're too busy doing things, meeting expectations, playing roles. We become what others need us to be, what society tells us we should be, what we think will make us successful or accepted. But underneath all of that, there's a question that matters. Who are you really? Not who you think you should be, not who others expect you to be, but who you actually are when you strip away all the layers. Today, we're talking about self-knowledge, not in an abstract, philosophical way, but practically. How do you get to know yourself? Why is it so hard? And what changes when you actually understand who you are? What self-knowledge really means. Self-knowledge isn't about finding some fixed, permanent identity. You're not a static thing that you discover once, and then you're done. You're constantly changing, growing, responding to life. Self-knowledge is about understanding your patterns, how you typically react to things, what genuinely matters to you versus what you think should matter, what energizes you and what drains you, what you're running toward and what you're running from. It's about distinguishing between your authentic self and the versions of yourself you've constructed to navigate the world. Let's look at what this actually means. You're in a meeting at work. Someone suggests an idea you disagree with. What do? Maybe you stay quiet because you don't want conflict. Or you agree, even though you don't, because you want to be liked. Or you get defensive and argumentative because you need to be right. Now ask, is that who you really are? Or is that a pattern you learned? Is that your authentic response? Or is it a strategy you developed to feel safe or accepted? Most of us are living out patterns we're not even aware of. Patterns from childhood, from past experiences, from what we absorbed about how to be in the world. Self-knowledge means becoming aware of these patterns, not to judge them, but to understand them. Because once you see them clearly, you can choose whether they still serve you. Here's another example. Someone asks what you want to do this weekend. Do you actually check in with yourself to see what you want? Or do you immediately think about what the other person wants? What would be easiest? What you should want? Many people have lost touch with their actual preferences because they've spent so long adapting to others. Self-knowledge means reconnecting with that internal compass. It also means understanding your values, not the values you think you should have, but what actually guides your choices when you're honest with yourself. You might say you value family, but if you look at where you actually spend your time and energy, maybe you're prioritizing work or achievement. That's not about judgment. Maybe achieving things genuinely matters more to you right now. But self-knowledge means being honest about that gap between what you say you value and what your actions reveal. Self-knowledge includes understanding your emotional patterns too. What triggers you? When do you shut down? When do you get defensive? What makes you feel alive? These aren't random. They're patterns with roots. Self-knowledge is tracing those roots so you understand why you respond the way you do. It means recognizing your strengths without inflating them, and your limitations without being destroyed by them. Most people either can't see their strengths clearly, or they exaggerate them as a defense. True self-knowledge is seeing yourself accurately. And it means understanding what you actually need, not what you think you should need. Some people need a lot of social connection. Others need more solitude. Some people thrive on variety and stimulation. Others need routine and predictability. There's no right answer, but knowing what's true for you changes how you structure your life. Why self-knowledge is so difficult? If knowing yourself is so important, why don't we do it? There are real obstacles. We're taught to look outward, not inward. From childhood, Most of us learn to focus on external measures. Did you get good grades? Are people proud of you? Are you successful by visible standards? We learn to constantly check. Am I doing this right? What do others think? We develop sensitivity to external feedback and lose sensitivity to internal signals. By the time you're an adult, you might have no idea what you actually feel or want because you've spent decades focused on what you should feel or want. Self-knowledge can be uncomfortable. Looking honestly at yourself means seeing things you might not like, patterns that don't serve you, ways you've hurt people, fears you've been avoiding, parts of yourself you've rejected. It's easier to stay distracted. Keep busy. Focus on external achievements. Anything but sitting with the discomfort of really seeing yourself. Many people fear that if they look too closely, they'll discover they're fundamentally flawed or bad, so they avoid looking at all. We confuse self-knowledge with self-judgment. People think examining themselves means criticizing themselves. So when they try to develop self-knowledge, it becomes an exercise in finding everything wrong with them. But self-knowledge isn't about judgment. It's about observation and understanding. You're not trying to decide if you're good or bad. You're trying to see clearly how you actually function. Think of it like understanding how a car works. You're not judging the car as good or bad. You're learning how it operates so you can drive it effectively. Our identity feels fragile. Many people have built their sense of self on shaky foundations. Maybe they derive their identity from their job, their relationship, their role as a parent, their achievements. If you look too closely, you might realize those things aren't actually you. And then who are you? That question feels threatening when your identity feels fragile. So people avoid self-examination because it might destabilize the identity they've constructed. We're disconnected from our bodies. A lot of self-knowledge comes through bodily awareness. Your body tells you when something feels right or wrong, safe or threatening, aligned or misaligned. But most of us spend our lives in our heads, disconnected from physical sensations. We override our body's signals constantly. We're tired, but we push through. We're full, but we keep eating. We're tense, but we ignore it. This disconnection makes self-knowledge much harder because you're missing crucial information. We mistake thoughts for identity. You have a thought, "I'm not good enough." Many people immediately identify with that thought. I am someone who's not good enough. But that's just a thought passing through your awareness. It's not the truth of who you are. Self-knowledge includes recognizing that you're the awareness observing thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. This is hard to grasp because we're so fused with our thinking. Social conditioning runs deep. You've absorbed countless messages about who you should be, from parents, culture, media, peers. Messages about what makes someone valuable, successful, worthy of love. Many people think these absorbed beliefs are their own authentic views. Separating what's truly yours from what you've internalized from others is difficult work. A woman might believe she should want children because that's the message she's always received. But does she actually want them? It takes real self-examination to know the difference. What changes with self-knowledge? When you develop genuine self-knowledge, concrete things shift. You make better decisions because you understand what actually matters to you. You're not chasing goals that don't align with who you are. You're not living someone else's version of success. You stop wasting energy pretending to be someone you're not. This is exhausting. Maintaining a false self takes enormous effort. When you know who you are, you can show up more authentically, which is much less draining. Your relationships improve because you're not expecting others to fill gaps in your self-understanding. You're not looking for someone to tell you who you are or to complete you. You come to relationships more whole. You also get better at choosing relationships that actually fit you, rather than relationships you think you should have. You develop more resilience because your sense of self isn't dependent on external validation. When you know yourself, other people's opinions become information rather than threats to your identity. You experience less internal conflict. Much of our inner turmoil comes from the war between who we really are and who we think we should be. Self-knowledge doesn't eliminate all conflict, but it reduces the unnecessary suffering that comes from fighting your own nature. You become more compassionate with yourself because you understand why you are the way you are. You see the patterns, the wounds, the strategies you developed to survive. This understanding naturally creates compassion, and you gain clarity about what needs to change versus what needs to be accepted. Some things about yourself you can change. Some things are just part of your nature. Self-knowledge helps you tell the difference. How to develop self-knowledge. Now, the practical part. How do you actually get to know yourself? Pay attention to your reactions. Your reactions reveal you. When something bothers you disproportionately, that's information. When you feel unexpectedly energized or drained, that's information. Start noticing without immediately judging or trying to change anything. Just observe. Someone criticizes you and you feel intense anger. Don't just react, notice it. What specifically triggered that? Is it what they said or something deeper? Does this remind you of something else? You're at a party and you suddenly want to leave. What's happening? Are you actually tired, or is something about the situation uncomfortable? What specifically? These reactions are breadcrumbs leading you to deeper self-understanding. Notice patterns, not just isolated events. One reaction tells you something. A pattern tells you much more. Do you always withdraw when conversations get emotional? Do you consistently overcommit and then feel resentful? Do you repeatedly choose unavailable partners? Patterns reveal your underlying strategies and beliefs. Write them down. Track them. They're showing you something important. Ask better questions. Most people ask themselves, "What should I do?" Or, "What's the right answer?" Those questions point you outward toward some external standard. Ask instead, "What do I actually want here? What feels true for me? What am I afraid of? What would I choose if I wasn't worried about others' opinions?" These questions point you inward toward your actual experience. Examine your automatic thoughts. You have constant internal commentary. Most of it is automatic and unexamined. Start catching those thoughts. When you notice one, ask, "Is this actually true? Where did this belief come from? Is this my thought or something I absorbed from someone else?" You think, "I have to be productive every moment or I'm wasting my life." Is that true? Is that yours? Or did you learn that somewhere? Look at where you spend your time and energy. What you actually do reveals what you actually value, regardless of what you say you value. Look at your calendar and your bank statement. What do they tell you about your real priorities? If there's a gap between what you say matters and where you invest your resources, that's important information. Either your stated values aren't actually yours, or you're not living aligned with your real values. Pay attention to your body. Your body knows things before your mind does. A situation might seem fine logically, but your stomach is tight. That's information. Practice checking in with physical sensations. Where do you feel tension? When do you feel expanded and open? When do you feel contracted and closed? Your body is constantly giving you feedback about what's aligned and what isn't. Notice what you avoid. What do you consistently avoid thinking about, talking about, dealing with? That avoidance is pointing to something significant. Maybe you avoid conflict at all costs. Why? What are you protecting yourself from? Maybe you avoid being alone. What are you afraid you'll encounter in solitude? The things you avoid reveal your fears, and your fears reveal your beliefs about yourself and the world. Try things and notice your response. Self-knowledge isn't all introspection. Sometimes you learn about yourself by doing and then observing your response. Try something new and notice. Did that energize me or drain me? Did I feel more like myself or less? Did time fly or drag? Your genuine responses to experiences reveal you. Spend time alone without distraction. You can't hear yourself if there's constant noise. Create regular time with no phone, no input, no agenda. Just you. This will probably be uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is exactly why most people avoid it. But in that space, you start hearing what's actually there underneath all the noise. Write. Writing creates clarity. Write about your experiences, your reactions, your questions. Don't write for anyone else. Write to understand yourself. Ask yourself questions in writing and see what comes out. Often you know more than you think you know, but it takes the process of writing to access it. Notice who you are in different contexts. You might be one way with your family, another way with friends, another way at work. Which version feels most like you? Are you adapting to each context, or are you different people? There's nothing wrong with appropriate adaptation, but if you don't know which version is actually you, that's worth examining. The ongoing nature of self-knowledge. Here's something important. You never finish knowing yourself. You're not a puzzle to solve once and be done with. You change. Your circumstances change. What was true about you 5 years ago might not be true now. What you need in one phase of life shifts in another phase. Self-knowledge is an ongoing practice, not a destination. You keep checking in. You keep observing. You keep asking, is this still true for me? Some things about you are consistent and stable. Those are probably core parts of who you are. Other things shift and evolve. That's normal. You'll also discover things about yourself gradually. Some self-knowledge comes quickly. Other things take years to see clearly. You're not behind if you don't have it all figured out. Nobody does. Be patient with the process. Self-knowledge develops through consistent attention over time, not through one big revelation. Conclusion. When you don't know yourself, you're navigating blind. You make choices based on what you think you should want, rather than what you actually want. You build a life that looks good, but doesn't feel right. Self-knowledge isn't selfish. It's foundational. You can't live authentically without it. You can't make aligned choices without it. You can't show up genuinely in relationships without it. The question, who am I, isn't something you answer once. It's something you keep asking, keep exploring, keep discovering throughout your life. Start now. Pay attention. Get curious about yourself. See what's actually there underneath all the layers of conditioning and expectation and habit. You're worth knowing. Thank you for taking this time to reflect with me. I hope you carry something from this conversation into your day, into your life. Be gentle with yourself until we meet again.